Hey, love. So we are already 10 episodes into the Seeing in the Dark podcast. And today I just want to have some glimpses and look back on all the amazing guests that have shared their wisdom about what life can look like as a soul based entrepreneur. What are the challenges that we can meet, and what are the gems that they and I found on our way? So let me take you onto some short clips on the episodes that we've gone through, and then the full episodes you can find on the website womenofancientfutures.com, on YouTube, and on Spotify. Enjoy. Welcome to the Seeing in the Dark podcast. My name is Nicole Costeres, and I welcome you in a space to find a deep trust in yourself, your intuition, and the deeper intelligence of life. In this podcast, I offer ways to cultivate your intuitive gifts and dive deep into the mysteries of power, purpose, and soul leadership, so that you can remember your deepest core and let your truest potential come alive. Dark, primal, shamanically wild, crystallized, bright, and subtly intuitive. Because my experience is when I talk about power with people, there can be a lot of misconceptions about power and leadership because it's such a mess around power and leadership in the world, you know? Yeah. So I would love if you can maybe touch upon maybe the difference of the power and leadership that you are talking about and that you are passionate about, and the power and leadership that we can currently see in a lot of the world leaders, in a lot of the structures that we currently have in our civilization.
Sure. Yeah, it's super important because power for some people is just even the word is triggering.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. So what I'm talking about is what I call true power. And true power is a frequency of source, and it's not dependent upon someone being in a particular position that somebody else has given them the permission to stand in, right? The example I give sometimes is like, think of the journey of love. That two people often, if they journey deeply in relationship as a pathway, two people will often come to a point where they realize that love isn't something that they generate between them, but love is actually an all-pervasive reality that their relationship participates in. Mm. The same is true of power. Like, power isn't something which is generated by a position. Power is a frequency of source. Like, power is a quality of the one life. Power is already here.
So yeah. Sharing that you remember you had your first 100 likes, and in the beginning were people that you knew, but then as it started to grow, more and more people started to see your work that you had no idea who those people were.
Yeah. So what I felt in these moments was like a loss of control, because I don't know, in some funny way, if I knew who the people were that were following me, I felt a sense of control. And now it was growing beyond me, and I had to really let go of control. And that was like, I think, a challenging part for my ego and my mind, because I didn't know who was watching me and what they thought about me. And I think that's a big part of becoming more visible and really keep sharing your truth, even though people are looking or listening that don't agree with it. So what you see a lot is that in the beginning, entrepreneurs are really open and they share a lot, and then they grow bigger, and then they are starting to I don't know, smaller their message or make it more mainstream or whatever. But I think the beautiful part of it is if you can just keep walking your talk and speaking your truth. But what was for me was very important was to work on myself for that, to work on my self-doubt, because what we are doing in our company is also considered alternative. So we always have people that really like us or hate us. And in the beginning, I could really feel when I got a lot of critic on, for.
I remember that in, I think it was 2018, I had my whole fall was scheduled. I was going to go to a mediumship training in the UK in the world most famous medium school. It's like a Hogwarts of mediumship. And I was planning to, I don't know exactly anymore what my plans, but I had my whole fall like planned out, and it felt deeply aligned and exciting for me. But that same spring, I went to Vienna, and I ended up in the Vienna Academy of Visionary Arts. And I was offering a workshop together with a friend there. And as I got a tour throughout the academy, I suddenly entered into the art space, and I saw like a group of 20 people painting in there. And the moment, I remember this so clearly, the moment I step into that art space, I feel something light up in me so deeply. It was like I could feel my timeline shifting, and suddenly I saw a whole new fall planned out for me. And I was like, yeah, but I already paid for that retreat in the UK, and I already agreed on working in that project over there. But life was, no, 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 no. We have a different plan for you.
That's just interesting. I kind of got stopped in my thought of like, leadership, because I'm really actually, it feels like I'm not so long ago that I became really aware of the responsibility that it has, and that I'm actually really accepting that role. So even though for others it might felt like that, up until quite recently, I just felt that I was on my journey doing what I needed to do to heal myself and to develop myself. And now I'm coming to this place that I'm feeling, oh gosh, leadership. Oh yeah, this is actually really something that you can step into and be really aware of and conscious of. And yeah, and so this is happening on a deeper level. I think it was there, but I didn't really activate it in a way. It was something that was natural, and now I'm consciously choosing to really develop it. But yeah, going back to the voice, I do think that was something that was really pivotal, because it literally gave me a voice to speak to others.
Yeah.
So yeah, when we communicate towards others, and if everything is in the voice, then the way that we use the voice is very important. How we connect to others, because yeah, I used to be in theater before I went into the yoga and into this whole journey. I studied theater, and there's something that they call subtext in Dutch. So it's like the energy that is behind um, the words that are said. So a couple, for example, and the man, and they're having a lot of troubles, like all this drama, in theater, but they're having a lot of troubles, and the man says, "Yeah, I love you," but it's like really cold, and like.
When the first lockdowns happened here in Holland, I completely lost all my work. And Women of Ancient Futures was already quite an established business, but everything was offline, everything was in person. So when the lockdowns happened, I lost my whole business basically. And for 3 months, I was on the government support, on the TOZO, because nothing was happening in my business. And because nothing was happening, I was allowed to meet myself deeper and to go into silence. And like Lean says, to through that receive new inspiration. So it's kind of a cycle of death and birth. So whatever has been dying for you this year, something new has been birthing already or will birth from that. And so after these first lockdowns that have been happening, Women of Ancient Futures went through a rebirth where everything kind of exploded, and it grew so much I couldn't keep up with it. So it doesn't matter where in this cycle of death and rebirth you are right now. Know that if you're at a point where you feel like, oh my God, everything is falling apart, that it's the opportunity to go inside and to listen to what will emerge from that, because something deeper will emerge from that.
I think it's really important we stop being afraid of our own emotions and stop being afraid of our own inner worlds and our own shadows, our own demons, and we start going there we start going there with this open heart, like, all right, I'm ready to face my inner shit, to face my demons, to face my fears, to face the uncomfortable emotions, the rage, the sorrow, all of that. I believe it's when we start there is when the biggest change happens. And what I do in the retreats and in the one-on-one sessions I do with people is I help them go there through these dark places, and I give them the tools to navigate in those darker realms within themselves. And those tools are always rooted in love and acceptance, but also in completely embracing and surrendering to what is.
Mm-hmm.
And the more we practice that, if we're then no longer afraid of our own emotions, then we stop running away from ourselves. And then we can show up as these forces of beauty and of light and of love in the world.
I find that the deeper intelligence of life tends to invite us in directions that scare the shit out of us, right? And so when you have a vision that is so big that it scares the shit out of you, what really helped me is to take a small step towards that. So I wasn't a big leaper in the beginning necessarily. I really trained that muscle, and I feel that's what it is, that courage and leaping and the ability to be in the fear and do it anyway are muscles that we can train. Yeah, it's like every time we decide to leap, even when it scares the shit out of us, but we just feel our intuition is pulling us there. Every time we do that, it strengthens that muscle, that leap muscle. And life just accelerates around that. I had times in the last, what is it now, in the last 6 years, that I would look back to myself 6 months ago and I would not recognize myself. I would look back to myself 2 months ago and I would not recognize myself. I would sometimes look back 1 week ago and I would not recognize myself.
And I remember just like something dawning on me. I was really unwell, and I was like glad I was unwell, because it meant that I could have a reason to not have to work that week. And I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? You know, I'm actually manifesting being unwell now to have time off. And that's when I decided, right, I need more time off. And I've never had more than a day off a week in my whole life. You know, I have like strong work ethic. And I had to really look at all these beliefs that have been passed down from society, from my parents, around working hard. And, you know, the more we're doing, that means that gives us validation. And it's crazy, you know, because if you think about it, technology came in to save us time, but work hours are just as much, and we take work home. And now, you know, emails and client calls are being taken all the time. And part of what my feminine needed last year, actually the year before, was to go, okay, so from this time we switch everything off. And it's just quality time with the kids, with my partner. That's really important. And, you know, feminine leadership is always going to be taking into account quality time with loved ones. It's always going to be prioritizing joy and playfulness and passion and creativity. You know, but when the masculine dominates, it's going to be preoccupied with production and efficiency. So bringing these two energies into balance is so important. Without masculine, we don't get anything done. Without feminine, all we do is do.
I sometimes get the question, what is a darkness retreat? And sometimes when I name that I spend time, or that I spend time in a dark room, people, I experienced this one time in my Tantra, when I was in a Tantra training. This guy next to me, he said, wow, you went into a dark room? And he thought that I was talking about these rooms that you have in sex parties. Those rooms are completely dark. And then when you go into them, you cannot see who you're having sex with, basically. So this is not the kind of dark room that we are talking about here today. The kind of darkness retreat that I am talking about is retreating in complete darkness. And so this can either be with a group or individual. And my experience so far has been only individual. So meaning I spend time in a room that is completely dark for the whole duration of the retreat, no windows. When I would wave my hands in front of my eyes, I don't see anything. So there is no light whatsoever in this room. And you can almost compare it with a hotel room, but then dark. So the dark room that I spent both my retreats in, because I went back to the same center, and I will actually go back to the.
As you are continuing to shift, as you are continuing to grow, and I'm not sure if I'm allowed to share this, but you just went past. Can I share the figure number you went above?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So you just, after during our time working together, you passed the 6-figure mark.
Yeah. Within
and now
9 months.
Within 9 months, which is really exciting.
Like a birth.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what it really comes down to is you shifting how you see yourself. It is us becoming who we're meant to be. And I believe if we really believe in source or God or spirit, what I truly believe is that our desires are there for a reason.
Yes.
And it's really what I learned from growing up in that church and hearing, like, it's not like you can't trust yourself. You can't trust yourself. The desire that we have to make more money is serving.
Yeah.
Us and you, in this case, Nicole, you stepping into a higher level of even more abundance, because there's going to be a new level for you again. Like now there's going to be multiple 6 figures and then 500,000 and 1 million. And I'm sure I'm going to be meeting you there. So,
yes.
And so it's just like really to understand that God or spirit would never place that desire in you if it would be damaging.
Yeah.
That's just really what I believe. And then it gets to be so fun because it is, and it's not about the money.
Mm-hmm.
It's about who you are becoming and how you are allowing yourself to be supported and how you're allowing yourself to show up. And just imagine what can happen to this world when we have like a bunch of women that truly believe in their mission and they're unapologetically making money. And without all of that.
Thank you for being here. You can learn more about Nicole and Women of Ancient Futures by downloading her free meditation, Melting into Your Most Free and Alive Self, on her website, womenofancientfutures.com. This meditation guides you into a meeting with a parallel version of you that is already deeply embodying her core qualities and can offer a transmission on the next evolution of who you are becoming. So, if you want to receive a powerful guided meditation to connect to your most free and alive self, receive inspiration, support, and guidance from her, and return to a deep connection with the potential that lives inside of you, go to womenofancientfutures.com and get direct access to this welcome gift.